I never forget a face, especially if I've sat on it.
Welcome back to the triumphant third or fourth return of the Gentleman Uncles. My name is Kyle.
And I'm Brylan. I believe this is actually only our second triumphant return. There was a triumphant beginning, and then one return, and now we have re-returned.
We have.
It's like a re-grand opening.
But we decided to come back with a movie that was introduced to me by my boss, who I need to give credit to, the great and glorious asshole Sean Owens. Pointed this work of art, really. I mean, you can't really call it anything else.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not a movie in the sense that it portrays human interaction. I mean, it's a movie in the sense that it is moving pictures on screen. Technically, by the broadest definition, it is a movie.
This movie, of course, is All-American Murder, the 1992 thriller classic, filmed over the course of 22 days. At Oklahoma State University in Stillwater, Oklahoma. And it stars, I hesitate to say this movie stars anyone, but it features...
Yeah, features...
Mr. Christopher Walken. And
he's kind of like the first supporting character. Because the main character is the kid who played Ferris Bueller on the Ferris Bueller TV show that was on first season. That's right. Was 90 to 91 was the Ferris Bueller show, and then he did this movie.
So how the mighty have fallen. I like to imagine that because in the movie he was at one school and he was accused of arson, but he didn't actually cause any fire. His roommates burned his snake,
and that ended up burning the dorm down.
Yes. So he's moving schools to this new college. So I like to imagine that he was Ferris Bueller at that school, but now he's in the witness protection program. And he's moved to this school, so this is, in fact, Ferris Bueller himself. And he's just getting into hijinks with murder now.
Yeah, he's gone a long way from just hijacking a parade.
If we're talking about Ferris Bueller is a psychopath.
Well, yeah.
He completely destroys his friend's life over the course of a day.
His friend was fine with it. He knew what was going to happen when he woke up that morning and decided to go give Ferris Bueller a ride.
He knew that he would eventually end up crashing his father's car through the wall of their house.
Yeah. He's hanging out with Ferris Bueller, man. Shit happens.
Oh, that Ferris. All right.
That Ferris.
Back on topic here. Let's wrangle this back in.
Okay, so one of the most stand-out-ish, non-realistic things about this film, and there are quite a few. What police officer tells the suspect, "You got 24 hours to solve this case, otherwise I'm gonna arrest you"? What?
He's
what?
He's a hard ass with a heart of gold who's just giving the bad boy a chance to prove he's...
You tell the suspect that he has 24 hours to solve his own case and prove it wasn't him.
Aren't they only not holding him because they don't actually have any evidence on him?
And his judge father called them and made them let him go. Yeah. But even so, it's the police's job to go out and prove that this guy did or didn't do it. Not, hey, you have 24 hours and then I'm going to arrest you no matter what.
Hey, he was letting him be a man and solve his own problems. All right? His own problem being accused of murdering the girl he was dating. But okay, let's get down to brass tacks with this feature-length Saturday Night Live sketch.
Yes.
Seriously, Christopher Walken feels like he's doing a character like the Continental. Like he's not behaving like a human being. He's like this character.
Yeah, he's very cliche, like just the cliche parts of a cop, not like any of the rest of it. It's
mixed
like there's
with
shell of a human being that they taped cliches on top of and then put Christopher Walken into.
Yeah, mixed with his Christopher Walken-isms. But, okay, the basic plot is, as we discussed, he's moved to the school. He's kind of like this warrior, poet, artist guy who sketches.
What did he describe himself as? An anarchist with something. I think he described himself as an anarchist at one point. He's
typical, like, late 80s, early 90s, like, weirdo loner kid, like, anti-establishment asshole. But he moves to this new school, and he immediately starts stalking the, like, hottest girl cheerleader Like, head cheerleader.
Well, not immediately. Immediately he fucks the dean's wife.
Yes!
Then...
Like, that is literally the first thing he does, is fucks the dean's wife.
And then the head cheerleader... And remember, they're all supposed to be like 22, 23 years old. This is like third year of college. But yes, their head cheerleader is the hot girl in school. Then she comes into a class with him and he immediately falls in love and starts stalking her.
Yeah, they have their little meet cute where he's drawing her and blah, blah, blah. And so he starts stalking her. He harasses her best friend. He saves a dog that fell or materialized in a fountain.
That dog materialized in that fountain.
Yeah,
or jumped out of like a second-story window. Because there was no dog, then there was a wet dog.
He like follows her to her sorority house and he's standing there and behind him there's a fountain and all of a sudden there's a and a splash, and there's a little Pomeranian in the fountain, and he dives headfirst into the fountain to save it instead of just like walking.
The fountain being about a foot deep.
Yeah, and of course, as soon as he lays his hands on the dog, some bitch walks up. Are you trying to kidnap my dog? Blah blah blah. Anyway. Yeah. College cliches aside, he finally harasses the head cheerleader into going on a date. He takes her to a cemetery.
Well, he takes her out to a nice dinner first.
And they're being stalked by someone who I don't believe it ever makes it completely clear who's stalking them. I assume it's the jock, her I thought it was pseudo boyfriend,
the dean,
or it could be the janitor,
or
but it never makes it clear.
You never find out who's stalking them.
Yeah, someone's stalking them, and they go on their little date. And he wants to go in and fuck her, and she pulls the "I'm not that kind of girl" shtick, and he's like, "All right, whatever."
Yeah, that because they start making out in the cemetery, and she's like, "Oh, I don't have much experience. I'm so innocent." And he's like, "Oh, it's okay. We could take it slow, whatever." And then she's like, "Oh, I got the willies. Let's get out of this cemetery, mister. I'm so scared."
Yeah. Then he's like, "All right." Then he goes back to his dorm.
Oh, when he drops her off, she's like, "Can I see you tomorrow?" And he's like, "Whoa, okay, yeah, this is awesome. I don't want to even know if I'm dreaming or not."
And is it the next day when it happens, or is it later that night? It's the next day because he goes and watches her.
Because then he goes and sees her do her cheerleading, and that's when the dean comes. And anytime he interacts with adults is when it seems like his language is really strange.
Yeah, this movie was clearly written by a middle-aged to older man thinking to himself, this is how the teenagers are talking nowadays.
Them crazy teens.
There's another movie out where this is a perfect example of. There's actually two. You know about Deadly Prey, which we are yet to talk about. There's actually a sequel to that made in the past couple years called Deadliest Prey.
Oh, wow.
Which, again, there's three 20-something hacker characters, all played by, I believe, members of the Alamo Drafthouse Theater, which is something completely awesome. But they're these 20-something characters, but their dialogue was written by this middle-aged man who has no idea how kids talk. So one of the characters, literally almost every one of her lines ends with "True dat, I heard that."
Wow.
Yeah. And then there's...
Is she black?
Nope.
Wow.
Yeah. Then there's the Richard Linklater film Boyhood, which is getting a lot of acclaim because it was a film filmed over 12 years.
Yeah, I've heard about that one.
Which is a neat experiment, but the movie itself really fucking sucks. Especially since it's got, again, an adult writing dialogue for high school and younger and older aged kids, and it sounds completely wrong. But anyway, the next day... He's on his way to meet her at the commons of the college.
Because they hang out. He goes and watches her at practice. Then he has a conversation with the dean. Then she's like, "Well, I've got a meeting later, and then I gotta go study. But come over to the bell tower and meet me on my study break."
And he has a run-in with her jock ex-boyfriend, I guess, or her
never actually her boyfriend at all, according to her. Oh, he's just like a brother to me.
Except for something we'll get into later. So he has the classic jock nerd outcast run-in thing, stick to your privilege, you fucking. Yeah. Anyway, or no, he actually it's a little more interesting than that because it's more like she has a reputation that she needs to uphold and
something like that. You're bothering her, and you're a terrible person because you're weird, and so you stay away from her because she needs to be with the good people.
Yeah. So as he's walking to meet her, there's someone erupts in flames standing up the stairs from him, and they go and fall over the balcony, and somehow this body was able to go from, like, fine to completely charred within
Like-
the span of a few seconds.
Yeah, like Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru charred.
And he immediately starts panicking and running around trying to open doors, and people come up and see it, and it looks like he's fleeing the scene of a crime.
Right.
And the police are called because he has a history with arson, blah, 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 blah. Then it cuts to the detective that's going to be taking over the case, and it's Christopher Walken, and he's walking up to a hostage situation.
At some, like, convenience store gas station thing.
And he's like,
Oh.
what are all these people doing here?
Are
I
you a
can't take it.
cop? Get out of the way.
And then, like, he goes, like, past the police tape, and some kid just, like, walks in the frame, and he's like, are you a cop? Get out of here.
So there's a guy in the gas station holding this pregnant lady hostage at knife point. And so Christopher Walken has picked up the suspect's wife and has driven down with her and has gotten, like, a profile on the guy during his drive down. And so he's like, this guy, you know, he's very jealous and he has a short temper and blah, 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 blah. So Christopher Walken takes the bullhorn and starts goading this guy. Oh, yeah, we're friends, you know, we renewed our friendship. She's got that cute mole on her ass, blah, 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 blah.
My favorite is, I never forget a face I've sat on.
Yeah,
It's-
especially if I've sat on it.
you got a problem called limp dick. Just, like, great stuff. And just goading the guy to come out and attack him, which he then he shoots the guy
Shoots
as
him
he's
in the
coming
leg.
up. Yeah, and then
Yay,
he gets,
Christopher Walken, case solved. Good job.
then he gets the call about the murder.
Richard
at the
Kind
time.
shows up and says, "Hey, you're not gonna appreciate this, but there's a 2 for tonight," and he takes him down to the other crime scene. Then they arrest the kid.
I would like to
And-
point out that Richard Kind shows up to be Richard Kind. I love the man to
Yes.
death. Richard Kind is one of my favorite people on the face of the planet, but
Yes.
he is just Richard Kind in everything that he's in. He's
This
a
one
little
though,
more-
this one he did have more anger than I've ever seen. Because
He was a
he's
very-
like bumbling and like kindly, just harmless. But here he was like he had a vendetta against this kid and against Christopher Walken, and he wasn't gonna take shit from anybody.
yeah, he was a very sweary.
But he was
Richard
still
Kind.
just Richard Kind.
Yeah, yeah. And if you don't know who Richard Kind is, get off your lazy ass and watch a Pixar movie every once in a while.
Or watch Spin City.
Or Spin City, or Stargate Atlantis. He shows up in a couple episodes of that. Or Stargate
Yes,
the
yes.
movie. But, so he goes, they've arrested the kid, but they don't actually have
Any evidence.
Any evidence that it was actually him, other than
They have
he
the
has this-
hearsay of one sorority girl who was the first on the scene and says she saw him light the girl on fire, which is
Yes.
blatantly untrue.
Plus his
Because he was
history
about
with
half a
arson.
block away when the girl caught on fire.
Plus his history. The arson, plus, he's just a new kid and no one knows it.
Yeah, he's a new kid, he's a troublemaker, and blah, 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 blah. They're trying to say that, oh, he must have been obsessed with her, and she turned him down, and then that's why he killed her. That's the theory they're going with.
But based on the fact that they have no actual evidence and that the guy's dad is a judge, they have to let him go. But not before Christopher Walken, who I guess is like he's the atypical confession machine. He'll just go in and like immediately know if someone's lying or not. They have this, and actually I have to admit, their interaction in that scene is my favorite part of the movie.
Anytime the two of them are interacting, like even in his apartment later on, all that was actually not bad. Like it was a good scene work between the two of them.
He tells him the story that they're working on, that she turned him down and rejected him, and he killed her because of it. And he actually like stops and he's like, she was my one chance at being normal.
Right.
Why would I? And she didn't reject me.
Yeah.
So like there's some interesting character work there. It goes away after that. Like that's all. It's like flatline. Boop. There's some character work, and that's all you get.
Yeah.
So long story short, Christopher Walken gives him 24 hours to solve the murder.
Yeah. Christopher Walken's like, you kid, you go solve this murder. You got 24 hours or I'm going to arrest you no matter what.
So the kid sets off, and he immediately fucks the dean's wife again. No, he doesn't fuck the dean's wife again.
No, he does not.
He goes and talks to Laundry Girl.
Yeah, he goes and talks to... No, first, he goes and sexually... Not assaults. He barges into the girls' locker room to try and confront the sorority girl and make her tell the truth.
And no one seems to be bothered by this.
Well,
Like,
the girls are kind of screaming, and then Christopher Walken shows up in the girls' locker room also and says, hey, now you got, 22 hours. Get the fuck out of here. Go do your job.
But, like, none of the administration of the school itself is particularly bothered that this boy and then a grown man, like, just show up in the girls' locker room, whatever.
Yeah,
And that's kind of a running theme. He just sort of does whatever he wants, and no one seems to give a shit.
Basically.
But then he goes and talks
to talk to Laundry Girl.
He goes and talks to Laundry Girl, and Laundry Girl is this, like, weird, not even weird, but she wasn't I'll say a plastic Barbie doll, sorority girl type chick, but she was applying to be part of the sorority that the popular girl who was murdered is part of.
Right.
And she's actually the
and
leader of it, right?
they were like supposed to be really good friends, and they both worked together at the kindergarten that was on campus.
Because,
there was a bunch of little kids running around in the play equipment, and they were, like, watching them, and that was on campus at this college. I don't know, maybe they were both in the teaching program, and this was, like, whatever.
And this is a girl he previously had gone to get information on Hot Dead Girl. So Laundry Girl tells him that she is different, and that she was trying to convince the sorority to join, because they usually only take a certain caliber of person, or certain type.
Wait, this is after... No, because at this point he's already broken into the sorority house also.
I thought he went to her, then went and broke into the sorority house, and then went back.
No, because when he goes to her, he's holding the tape. And then she's like, let's go do laundry, and takes the tape and puts it down, and then they go do laundry. And then when he goes and walks her back with her folded laundry, he forgets to get the tape, runs to his car, oh shit, there's the tape box, but no tape, runs back up, and she's already watching it.
That's right, because he had heard that the girl that said she was a witness had gotten letters from the dead girl saying that she was afraid that he was going to murder her or something.
Yeah, she had shown, the dead girl showed the witness girl letters that he had allegedly sent saying, if you don't go out with me, I'm going to kill you.
That's right.
So these are threatening letters from him to the dead girl that he never wrote.
Yeah,
so he breaks into the dead girl's room at the sorority house to try and find the letters, but he doesn't find the letters, but he finds this videotape, so he just takes it. Because, why not?
Whatever.
And then while he's there, the sorority house janitor handyman comes into the room and, like, smells her panties and then takes this envelope out of the drawer and leaves. Yep. And so he's like, what the fuck? So he goes over to the laundry girl. Oh, he watches the tape, sees what's on it.
It's dead girl giving a speech to the sorority, basically saying, yeah, fuck this bitch, you guys were right.
Throwing laundry girl under the bus.
Yeah, because she's a stupid bitch. So, the interaction between Laundry Girl and, what's his name, Artie?
Arthur, Logan?
But he goes by Artie. Their interaction is very bizarre because, at this point, he's a murder suspect. And he goes to her and says, no one will talk to me, I need your help. And she's like, all right, grab some laundry. And he's like, are you really not bothered by the fact that I'm a murder suspect? And she's like, as long as you could fold laundry. And then he says, so if Jack the Ripper could fold your laundry, you'd be perfectly fine with it?
As long as he didn't rip my clothes.
Yeah, it's like,
what? Hold on.
And I guess it's supposed to be like, they're both weirdo outcasts. Mwah, mwah. But so they have their interaction. He goes and sees her watching the tape. And he's like, oh, shit. And she tells him to fuck off.
But then he goes in, he's like, hey, it's going to be okay, whatever. And she's like, no, because now no one, now I feel worthless again because she just lied to me and blah, blah, blah.
And then he goes
Then he
after
realizes
the
he
janitor.
needs to get those letters. Is this when he goes and breaks down into the basement? Yeah.
Yeah, so he goes down.
The janitor guy lives in the basement of the sorority house.
Yeah, and it's like a Saw-esque underground tunnel boiler room type place. He breaks into this guy's... He's deaf, right? Or something?
Yeah. The janitor guy's deaf. So he sneaks in, leaves a note that must say, like, hey, my sink doesn't work or whatever, to get the guy out for a little bit. And then he goes in and ransacks the guy's little, like, cot room in the basement looking for this envelope.
And he's got, like, jars of shit just, like, around.
Yeah, and then he's got a whole billboard, a whole, like, cork board with pictures of the dead girl on it.
Yep.
So he's like, oh, it must be this guy.
So he's convinced that it's this guy. And I love this scene. Like, it's cutting to the janitor, like, going up and checking the faucet. And I love it.
He turns on one water.
Like,
no, that works.
Like,
turns on another one. No, that works.
Because he's like, what the fuck is what? This is working fine. And it's just, it's just like... This completely pointless scene because we knew that he was faking it anyway, and they didn't need to illustrate that he was going to find a working faucet, but they decided to anyway.
Great, and because it's intercut between like Artie like nervously like searching through everything trying to find the envelope, but then he does find the envelope, and he opens the envelope, and lo and behold, there are no letters in the envelope. What there are some freaky ass Polaroids of the dead girl, the jock guy, and, you know, random prostitutes.
Having naughty times. Oh my god!
Very crazy naughty times. Whoa.
And this is supposed to be the, like, isn't there, like sadomasochistic stuff and whatnot?
I don't even know. It's like, well, A, it's a three-way. B, she's black.
Yep.
C, this is supposed to be, like, this virginal saintly girl and, like, the captain of this, basically, not said, but Christian college football team.
Yep. And, oh my god, they were doing this! So he goes to confront the jock boy first.
Well, he takes
the
pictures, and he hears the guy coming back, leaves, but the guy sees him, chases him around the boiler room. Eventually, the guy shows up with a drill. The janitor's chasing him with a half-inch drill, like a full-size electric drill with a half-inch drill bit on it, chasing him around. Finally, the guy gets away, hits the janitor on the head with the pipe, and then he runs and calls Christopher Walken. He's like, hey, I figured it out. It's the janitor. I knocked him out. He's in the basement. Come on, meet me there. I'll be there, plus I got some pictures to show you.
And I got something I gotta do. I'll meet you there in an hour. Yeah. Or something like that.
And so then we see what I thought was the janitor drilling into his own head, but apparently I didn't get it at all. I was so confused.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah.
It was dark. I couldn't see that it was a different arm. But what happens, apparently, there's someone in a black coat that has now taken the drill out of his unconscious hand and drills straight into his forehead. And leaves the drill just, like, sticking there.
Comically sticking straight out.
Yeah, and so the cops show up, and Artie doesn't... Well, Artie goes back and sees he's dead and skedaddles, and then the cops show up.
The cops don't actually show up with the janitor.
Because the second time he calls Christopher Walken, I thought he says, well, yeah, I thought you would pin that on me, so I left, too.
Yeah, but the cops never actually... talk about the janitor. The janitor's never...
Yeah, the cops don't care. He's just a deaf janitor, whatever.
The janitor's never mentioned again. Like, never. So at the end of the movie, I like to imagine this body's just, like, still sitting down there.
With the drill sticking straight out.
But he goes to confront the jock about these pictures. Because the jock obviously knows more than he's saying. And the jock, he beats the shit out of the jock first, doesn't he?
No, I don't think he does. I think he's sitting there in, like, their lounge, wherever the jock lives, that's got all these pictures and trophies of the jock all around. Then the guy comes in, he's like, hey, get the fuck out. And he's like, hey, I got some pictures that would look great up on that wall. And he shows him the pictures.
And the jock starts going on this story about how, like, their entire lives, they're forced to be these perfect paragons of righteousness.
They were groomed to be, you know, the upper echelon of society and blah, 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 and perfect grades and perfect life and perfect this and perfect everything. And so every once in a while during, like, away games, they would sneak off for the night and go, like, hire a hooker and then just have crazy sex all night long and, like, take pictures of it.
But it was the girl that was, like, the instigator of it. So this girl consciously said, my life doesn't have enough crabs in it. We need to hire a prostitute and have anonymous sex and do freaky things. So the jock guy is like, you need to give me those pictures.
Freedom. That was freedom.
It was their choice.
Yes. That was the only taste of freedom they had.
So the jock is like, you need to give me those pictures. You don't understand. Like her entire image is going to be destroyed. You need to give them to me. And he's like, once I talk to the police, like once I get this all sorted out, if there's no funny business, you can have them. Yeah. Essentially. So he's like, all right, fuck you, I gotta go.
So then he goes and calls the cops again, and then he's like, hey, I really figured it out this time. It was a jock boyfriend. Yeah. And I got pictures. Come meet me at my apartment.
So he goes back to his apartment and is like waiting there.
He goes to his apartment, and the door's open. His apartment has been ransacked, and the dean's wife is in it.
That's right. So he fucks her again. No, he doesn't fuck her.
No.
Do they fuck?
She just gets wasted.
That's right. She gets wasted, and she starts going off on how the dean, who is also, like, they make it a point to say the dean is, like, this righteous man who, like, is a pillar of the community. The dean is, like, a sadomasochist.
Well, yes, but also between her and the dean and his wife basically had a competition of how many undergrads they could sleep with every year or whatever.
Was it that? I thought the dean just ignored her and she didn't give a fuck.
Well, the dean ignored her and they had a competition, which is why she tells him about the key in the geranium bowl and the drugs under the bed. And so she says, like, every morning he would look at me with, like, he had won because the girls would always come over, except with, what's her name, the popular dead chick. I never seen that look in his eyes before. You know, it looked like his soul had been raped. Like, and it shows them, like, like she's on top of him and just like beating the shit out of him while she rides him.
Yeah.
And then like the wife walks in and like looks, and the dean is like laying there, just looks over at her with this terrified look on his face, and the wife walks away. You're like, what?
Okay.
What?
Artie is like, what the fuck? This is what?
And
so he
yeah, and
tells
the
her to
wife
leave.
and the dean's wife has been drinking vodka while she's been telling him the story, and he's like, okay, you go home. I'm gonna go talk to the cops. Because it obviously was the dean killed her. And so she goes down to her car. Then Artie's like, oh, where's my snake? And then I don't know what kind of snake it is, but it's like a corn snake or something. And it's in the passenger seat of her car. And it slithers itself around her neck and chokes her.
And like the car, they like jerry-rig the car to not be able to open again.
It won't turn on and it won't open again. So then he's like, oh shit. And he runs down. And while he runs down, the jock boyfriend shows up in his apartment, still looking for the pictures, finds them, and then gets stabbed in the back with a kitchen knife. And so then he goes back up to his apartment. Christopher Walken shows up because of the dean's wife being dead. And then he's like, okay, come up to my apartment. I'm going to show you the pictures. Come up to my apartment. And they walk in, and there's another dead body. He's like, shit.
He says, this is one of the best lines in the movie. Christopher Walken looks, and he's like, I suppose that's not your knife either. And Artie says, of course it's my knife, you sausage.
It wouldn't do much good to frame me with it if it wasn't mine.
The sequence of events, within the span of like 20 minutes, the Weinstein has been killed, the cops have shown up, and whoopsie-daisy, here's another dead body just sitting in his apartment when he goes back. It's like a sitcom decided to come and visit the set for a little while. For some reason, Christopher Walken specifically is willing to just like let this go. Like, let the dead jock go, and it's like, all right, you still have, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, you still have like 6 hours.
Even though there's 2 more dead bodies, one killed by his snake and one killed in his apartment with his knife.
Yeah.
But
so at that point, that's when he goes to the dean, right?
Yeah. We're cutting out all the times that it cuts to Christopher Walken, like, at the department with other cops coming up and be like, why the fuck are you giving this kid this chance?
Right, yeah.
And the great speech that Christopher Walken gives the kid about how his wife left him for a cheesemaker.
Yeah, so we both win. That's when they spend, like, an hour in the apartment. Because it's, like, early in the day.
That's right.
And he's like, Christopher Walken comes and says, what do you have right now? And then, so he talks him into this, shares the information. And then, so the kid's like, well, what do you think of my information? And Christopher Walken goes, I think you only got 8.5 more hours. And then, like, walks away, and the kid's like, you wasted an hour.
But yeah, he tells him about how his wife left him, and how girls love seeing the badge, and there's this pretty little thing, and he flashed your badge, and all of a sudden, she's, quote, on him, wiggling and jiggling and giggling. But he can't get hard because he's thinking about his ex-wife. But it all works out because the other guy got his
the
ex-wife
ex-wife saw the badge and always thought it meant being broke. And he saw the badge and thought it meant honor and justice. And so when his wife left him, she went to the cheesemaker.
Because
and so now everybody wins. The cheesemaker gets his wife, and every year he gets a pound of cheese.
He gets 12 pounds of cheese.
Oh, 12 pounds of cheese.
He gets 12 pounds of cheese. And then that scene ends, and back to the movie.
The dean, you know that Artie is going over to visit the dean to confront him. And
he's working out, right? Isn't he on,
and
like,
the dean is working out listening to, like, financial talk radio or whatever. Yeah. Whatever old rich white guys listen to. I don't know.
Yeah.
So he's working out on his little home gym. This person, the same person who's been killing everybody, the black trench coat person with the gloves, shows up and puts a chain around his neck and then drops a grenade in his pants.
It's so great. And it explodes.
Because, okay, the rest of them I can understand. You used a snake, a knife, the drill he had on him, okay. A grenade?
Well, it's to rape his genitals again, man. You know?
Yes, obviously, and that was really the point. When the grenade went down the pants, I'm like, I know exactly who's in the black trench coat. That was what I knew.
So then
there's
they
show up.
Some pretty decent gore effects because they walk. Isn't it just like his head and arms?
It's like half of his like rib cage and his head and arms hanging from the weights, which have like gone up.
Yeah, it's it's like pretty decent.
Yeah, it wasn't super cheesy.
No,
but
it
so
wasn't.
Then the cops show up there too because Christopher Walken's gonna let Richard Kind and Richard Kind's partner arrest him this time. Christopher Walken goes, what is it? It's like, I've never seen someone fall in shit 5 times in a row. Or you have a talent for falling in the same shit 5 times. Something like that. So Christopher Walken's like, yeah, you still have 3 hours, but I really can't help it. This is the 5th one in a row. There's nothing I can do.
And so he just bolts.
They take him in the car, and he lights a newspaper on fire, because obviously when you put someone in the back of your police car, you leave them with their lighter and today's newspaper.
Yes, and that's the full arson story arc where he's like, I've been accused of arson this entire time. Fuck it, I'm gonna light something on fire.
Exactly.
So he lights it on fire. He bolts. And how does he figure out who it is and where she is again?
Okay, so what happens? Then he goes to Wendy's, the laundry girl, again. And he's like, hey, we need to meet. You're gonna die. We need to go meet me at the clock tower again. He's like, it's kind of creepy, but it is secluded, whatever. Meet me there, and we'll talk about this. I just need to borrow your car for an hour. And so she's like, okay. So when they find the jock dead in his apartment, Richard Kind and the other cop are also there, and Richard Kind confronts him. He's like, oh yeah, we've been checking in on you. This isn't the first time. You left that dead co-ed up at whatever other school, and this dead nurse lady, and the co-ed's missing, and the nurse is dead, or whatever. And so they kind of gloss over that, but Artie's like, I definitely didn't kill those people. I've never heard of those missing people either. So then he realizes, once the dean is dead, and obviously the dean didn't do it, he realizes there's only one other person who really has some sort of investment in keeping the dead girl's image pure. And there was only one other person who could have soiled the image, because the laundry girl, after she saw the videotape, she told the story about how the very first time she had come to that school, she saw the dead girl and started stalking her also, and saw her shoplift something. And then the dead girl all of a sudden started trying to be super good friends with her, because then she knew that she would never, flip on her.
Yeah.
So that's the laundry girl is the only one left who could possibly ruin her image. So he's like, oh shit, she's gonna die. So he's, going back to the clock tower, running away from the cop car he just set on fire. And then you see the laundry girls at the clock tower, and the person in the black trench coat's there, whips out a knife, and, starts trying to attack her, and Artie comes and jumps on the trench coat person, tackles him off, and the trench coat person's trying to, stab him and all that, and is about to, and then bang!
Christopher Walken shows up and shoots the knife.
And shoots the hand with the knife in it, and then Artie's like, see, this is your killer right here. Rips off this was fucking straight out of Scooby-Doo. Rips off the ski mask. It's all, no, it was the dead girl, had faked her own death by finding the missing co-ed, found her a doppelganger, and then went around and killed everyone who knew that she was ever bad. So she would be dead, but her memory would be secure.
Now, I would like to point out that, okay, so the girl faked her own death, and yes, okay, I suppose there are some lines in there that imply who the original victim was, but they are so subtle that I completely missed it, and the entire time I'm watching this movie, who the fuck was the person that was, because I figured out it was her faking her own death, right around the time that he was confronting the janitor. I was like, it's probably this. Nice. It's gotta be her. But, really all I thought of was, what's the most convoluted twist that this could possibly be?
Right. And, well, there we go. That makes sense now.
And wasn't he, doesn't he have some great line, after Christopher Walken shoots the knife out of her hand, Artie says, what are you doing here? And doesn't Christopher Walken say something on a stroll for justice, or...
he was like, I was following the smell of mystery.
That's it. Oh my god. Okay. So
the dialogue is so beautiful.
And then it ends, right? Doesn't Laundry Girl and Artie go walking off?
No, then she goes from being like, I fucking hate all of you, you're fucking
kids,
blah, blah, blah.
Oh yeah.
And then
hold
she
on,
goes,
hold on.
My hair.
Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. I'm sorry, because I completely skipped over one of my favorite parts of the movie, which is after they catch her, she goes fucking nuts and starts you cock-sucking motherfucking asshole fuckers, fucking pigs! I fucking hate you all, goddamn! And it's like, whoa, hold on!
You're like, where'd this come from? But then
she
switch
whips
flips
out
again, and she goes, I'm bleeding, my hand. Oh, can you help me? So he wraps her hand in duct tape, and then all of a sudden, she has a flamethrower.
No, she whips out a butane blowtorch, and is about to burn him, and he hits her
up, and then Artie grabs her from behind,
and holds her arm, and she turns the thing and burns her
face.
like burns half her face, and then Richard Kind and the other cop show up and they truck her off.
Christopher, thank you for saving my face. I like my face.
Yep.
And then the kid goes, I don't know if I did you such a big favor.
And then Christopher Walken says something along the lines of "keep solving mysteries" or something like
Yeah.
that. Like in Indiana Jones getting his
Here's
hat
my
kind
hat,
of thing.
kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he and Laundry Girl go walking off into the sunrise and continue going to class, I guess.
Yeah. Well, they got to find a new dean. The quarterback for the football team's dead. Somebody's got to take over that. You know, the head cheerleader's gone.
There's a janitor rotting in the basement somewhere. Okay, so all this is done, mystery solved. What I want to know is who was stalking them in the beginning, because there's a whole bunch of people that it could be. And I recognize...
Throughout the whole movie, there's stalking shots.
Yeah, there's like the
Like, even when he's in his apartment the second time with the dean's wife, there's a shot of, like, the stalking shot through the bushes in his window, and he goes over to the window and says, I thought I heard something. And the dean's wife goes, it was just the wind.
Well, I assumed that was the jock waiting for the apartment to be empty so he could get the picture.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that, yeah.
But there are stalking, it's like the, Friday the 13th or Sam Raimi Evil Dead, POV stalking shot.
Through bushes and around trees and... Yeah.
It never once, confirms who any of these, watchers are. So it's like, oh, mystery! Boo! And then the movie just ends, and all you're left with is Christopher Walken.
Hey, that's fine with me. Fine with me.
You know, not a terrible movie. I've seen worse, but...
Yes, I definitely have seen worse.
We've seen
but it's not
worse.
Good.
It's on YouTube. Fuck it.
It's free. It's like an hour and a half long. If you got nothing to do, I'd say watch it.
I set up my laptop next to the tub and took a nice hot bath and watched it. That was my experience.
That sounds relaxing.
It was very relaxing.
A nice, enjoyable bath time.
Yep. Yeah. It was. My boss Sean told me about it under the guise of you need to see this movie because it's Christopher Walken being insane, and that sold me on it.
And I don't know if it's the most insane I've ever seen him play.
No, but it's very quintessentially Christopher Walken.
Yes.
But yeah, watch it or don't. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. But it's not gonna, really make you regret those 90 minutes of your life.
Yeah, it didn't make me feel angry at any point. And I have to admit, there were certain points, very, very few points, where I was like, I wonder what's gonna happen next. There were, little snippets where I was interested in mystery.
There's a little bit, it showed, the tiniest glimmer of possible promise.
I need to double-check, but the director of this movie, Anson Williams, he played Potsy Weber on Happy Days.
Yeah!
So he's a contemporary.
That's why I knew that name.
He's a contemporary of Ron Howard. This is what he went off to do. So there's that. And then the writer of it, Barry Sandler, he wrote this, and then his immediate next film, the film before this one was called Making Love, and it was a movie about a love triangle between a man and his wife and another man, but it was... The man is in love with his wife and this other man.
Oh.
So, and that's how he came out, I guess. So there's this whole air of angst around this movie. There's this one guy who's like, I am ostracized in Hollywood because it's not totally accepting of homosexuality yet. And then there's, I need to one-up Ron Howard because my career isn't where his is. So you can almost feel the resentment that is in this movie. Fuck you guys, I can do this better than you. But it's not going to make you angry. It's not,
no.
I didn't feel...
And if you ever watched any DC cartoons, the main kid... Not only did he play Ferris Bueller on the one season of the TV show, he also went on to do the voices of the Flash and Robin in most of the DC cartoon universe.
Was he Dick Grayson in the WB cartoon?
Yes. And he was also Damian Wayne.
Oh, well, there you go. Nerds. Go fucking crazy.
Did a bunch of stuff.
Well,
and,
anyway.
If you ever watch Doogie Howser, which you goddamn well better have, the doctor who worked with Doogie Howser worked with a male doctor and a female doctor. The male doctor, Dr. Jack, that is the jock boyfriend.
And Neil Patrick Harris played Doogie Howser, and he also went on to voice Nightwing later in the WB Batman continuity.
This is true.
So...
It all comes together.
It all comes together. It's all this.
Christopher Walken
is a god.
He should have been a Jedi, and Mark Hamill did the voice of Joker.
I really want to have a movie where Christopher Walken and Tommy Wiseau interact with each other. I think that would just be the greatest thing
For
ever.
the longest time, I have always dreamed, like, you know, if you can have lunch with two people or whatever. Christopher Walken, William Shatner. I just want to sit and listen and talk to each other.
I was about to say the exact same thing.
Right? Like, how amazing would that be? I just want to hear them talk. I don't even need to talk to them. I just want to hear them talk to each other.
All right, we're going to wrap this up, but we're hopefully going to be on some kind of schedule again.
Something, yeah.
We need to do Deadly Prey. We still need to do things. I think one of the reasons we took a break was to avoid doing things.
Yeah, Oh, after that 5 minutes you showed me, I don't know how... I thought it was just a 5-minute short because I don't think I could deal with any more than that.
Well,
we'll find out.
We'll find out for sure. But as always, for the Gentleman Uncles, I have been Kyle.
And Brylan.
Keep solving mysteries, kids.